Hello, friend, and welcome to another episode of Joel Does Music, where I bring on musicians of various backgrounds, and we just have a good old-fashioned yap session. My guest for today, I interviewed one member of this alternative indie duo, but I got the full band now. I got who I consider to be the architect of the band, all right? I got Lucas Cooper and Jake Miltenberger of one of my favorite alternative indie duos, Lost in the Forest. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We got a lot to talk about, but first off, I just have to say congrats on one of the two big things that we're going to be discussing. You guys finally played your first batch of live shows.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was awesome.
Talk to me about it. Tell me how you guys felt leading up to it. You played two shows, one in September and one very recently this month at the Goosetown Tavern. How are those shows? How did it feel to finally give Lost in the Forest its proper live debut?
Yeah, it was incredible in my opinion. Both shows went incredibly well. The first one, unfortunately, Jake wasn't able to attend, so we had to adjust some things a little bit for that first one. But this last one, Jake was able to be there finally, and it was incredible. The crowd energy was fantastic. People loved seeing us up there, and it just felt great. It felt like that was what we were supposed to be doing, rather than just making all these sounds and just having them out on the internet. Like it was giving them a place to actually exist and live for once. It felt incredible. So I'm super happy with how it turned out. Jake, I'll let you chime in on your experience with it.
I mean, I'm just happy when things are loud. So that's always like when I can just get on a stage and turn my amp up and just play, like it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Like he said, the crowd energy was good. Yeah, it was fun to play some of this stuff live. And also like it was really interesting having to kind of consolidate stuff because there's so many instruments on some of these songs that like we can't replicate with just a four piece. So it's always fun being able to kind of like fill that sonic space as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when it came to the live setting, was there one song in particular that really popped off that you thought wouldn't have?
Let me look at the set list real quick here that we had. I think really it's kind of hard for me to really say what I feel like would have popped off and what wouldn't have, because I feel like just by the way that we picked out the set list and everything was very meticulously picked. Like these are the standout songs of like what gets the energy rolling and everything. I think a big surprise for me was Black and Blue. I think playing that one live, that was one I was a little like concerned about originally when we made it for the studio album for Bleach. I didn't think it was gonna land as well as it did, and it ended up landing more than a lot of other songs. And people really enjoyed watching us playing it live, and being able to see Jake ripping his solos on there and everything like that. For me, I love that energy because he gets to just rip away on his guitar, which is great because he gets into it and he loves it. And I can see him just getting all excited about it from like my perspective. So that one I think for me is one that kind of turned into something that I really enjoyed playing, and I think the crowd really enjoyed it too.
Yeah, that is amazing. Black and Blue actually is one of my favorite songs off the new album Bleach, which we will be tapping into in just a bit because that solo, so blues influenced. And when I was listening to it, I was thinking, okay, Jake, I see you, a secret shredder, man. I gotta give you your flowers, man. I really have to.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. And like you said, we'll get into it. But yeah, there's definitely that influence there for sure.
Let's get into it then. So, Bleach, your sophomore album, has been out for a few months. Congratulations, guys. Or, if we're being really technical, there is a lost album that Lucas, you and I spoke about. But just for the sake of making things easy, this is going to be mentioned as your sophomore album. So,
Yes.
this is, you were not kidding, more experimental. Jake, you described it best, man, on social media. There's less polish, more grease. I was vibing to the whole thing. Talk to me about the writing and recording process for Bleach, because it seemed like you guys started working on this even before Rest came out. How did that work out for you guys?
Well, I mean, I guess like my memory is probably a little bit more hazy of it, just because like I'm less involved in the writing side of the songs, like the actual compositions. Well, maybe not the compositions, but the lyrics and stuff. That so those I don't know how far some of those songs go back. I know Bleach, the the song Bleach, that goes back to before. Rest, because that was one of the first songs we ever even recorded together, and it's on when we released Rest, we had these CDs that we made for the release of that album, and Bleach is on those CDs as like bonus track material. So it definitely kind of coincides. Some of these songs definitely like were being formed at the same time. But I definitely remember more like, I mean, I obviously more involved with it because I didn't show up in the middle of this album. So, there's like, instead of only being on like half the album, I think there's only like 2 or 3 songs maybe that I'm not on Bleach. So, in some capacity.
Now, basically, the song that kicked off the album's sonic direction was the title track. Tell me about writing the title track, Lucas, and like how you felt the minute you finished writing it. Like, how did you feel? Did you recognize at the moment like this is the direction of the album? This is absolutely it.
Yeah, so like Jake was saying, a lot of Bleach was starting to be written pre-Rest being actually released. Bleach was a demo track on as a bonus track on our CDs of Rest. So it's really funny. I remember the day that I wrote the opening like intro line to Bleach. I was working on Mesmerized. It was one of the last tracks that we were starting to record for Rest, and I had found this little amp sim and I was playing it, and I came up with that line. And rather than working on Mesmerized, I went and created an entire new project, and I wrote the entirety of what the base of Bleach was. And the lyrics all just kind of came to me all at once. And it was a really rare moment for me because a lot of the time I'll write either the lyrics first and then the song, or write the song and then the lyrics. I don't really do it all complete at once. And that was one of those rare moments of songs that I wrote both at the exact same time. So it just felt so just raw and kind of as open as it could be. And of course, there were some, tweaks here and there from the original to the final release, what you hear now. But I immediately sent that project to Jake, and he played around with it. I went over to his house and we recorded some parts of it, and hearing just how it felt and it exactly sounded how I wanted it out of my head. It was such a surreal moment. Like, and I knew that was the direction I wanted to go. I wanted a much more heavier and much more just like, we can really just get into this on stage kind of thing, rather than the stripped back, like, all right, I did a lot of this in my bedroom, COVID time, like all that stuff. Like, I wanted that, like, hey, this is who we are. This is what we're here to stand for. We're not going anywhere.
I mean, the gamble paid off for you guys because when I heard the album, well, I listened to it. You gave me the Dropbox link before I went on vacation. I'm like, yes, I feel like I have some very important details here. This is great. I listened to it. Then I kept listening to it all week before I started chatting with you guys. I'm just like, man, it is amplified. It's a bit more raw. There has some, it has some tender moments in there. I'm just like, damn, you guys nailed it for a sophomore album. Like, how there's the tale of the sophomore slump. This is definitely not it. You guys absolutely nailed it. Seriously.
Thank you.
So when it comes more about Bleach, it seems like, based on what you guys said online, and I definitely want to touch on this a bit more just to get, more perspective from both of you. When you guys were working on Bleach, immediately it felt like every song that you were working on perfectly fit the album. Like, you knew, all right, this fits it perfectly. You weren't second guessing any of the songs. Was there some second guessing with Rest, or was it just a matter of, all right, it kind of fits, it kind of doesn't, but you know what, let's just put it on the album anyways? Was it kind of like that mindset?
Rest had a lot of kind of second guessing, especially being your first album. It was like, all right, do we want to do this? Is this how I want our first like introduction to this band to be? It was a lot of me just kind of going back and forth of like, I don't like this, I love this, things like that. And thankfully, Jake helped me get out of that bubble and that mindset of that a lot, especially towards the end of the process where he was just like, no, dude, just do it. We just need to do it. We just need to release it and just have it there. And then that kind of helped me realize, all right, now that I've had this all written, it's released. Now Jake and I can really just work on a new album together entirely from the start. And that kind of helped craft what I wanted better, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Jake, I definitely want to talk to you about this topic. The guitar maestro over here. We got the sous chef of the band. I want to talk to you about your guitar arrangements, specifically on Hit the Ground and Black and Blue, because Hit the Ground, I thought I heard some lap steel guitar work in there. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I definitely heard
It's
some
slide guitar, but close enough.
Close enough. I call myself a musician. I'm done with this interview. I can't. I'm so ashamed right now. I am so sorry to bring shame to this interview, guys.
Close enough. They're both played with the same vibe. So, no, yeah, there is. It is slide guitar on Hit the Ground.
Dude.
It's a little like tag at the end of the chorus.
Yes, I picked up on it. I thought, wait a minute, what's going on here? It was tickling my brain. I thought, how did he decide to come up with this idea? And then that solo in Black and Blue, that blues influence, again, earlier that I mentioned, that just really perfected the song. It was just that perfect addition. How do you come up with guitar arrangements for the song? Is it something that you write on your own at home and you present it to Lucas? Or is it more of a collaborative effort and he helps to kind of perfect it with you? Or he says, oh, I'm thinking about this. Can you add this part?
It kind of is both. I mean, there are certain songs where it's me, like I just do it in my house and then I send him back the project and I'm like, this is what I did. Like, that's kind of how it was on Hit the Ground. Like, I added a lot of stuff to that. There's actually like a rubber bridge type guitar part that's kind of sitting in the background that's very like, I was very inspired by the sounds on Garden Song by Phoebe Bridgers. There's like this washed out rubber bridge thing that kind of sits in the background that's just kind of pumping the whole time. And obviously there's that little rubber bridge hook part, which it's funny because that isn't even like what most people consider a rubber bridge. It's actually I didn't own any kind of rubber bridge guitar, so I had to use this like little trick I stole from Blake Mills where you take a string package and you rip a piece of the cardboard out and then you weave it in between the strings. And it really kind of deadens it out and gives it that sound. But the slide part on that was very like, when we recorded that song, I had just finished watching the Get Back Beatles documentary. So I was like in my George Harrison era. And so that's kind of where that came from, was I was listening to a ton of George Harrison stuff and just the layered slide. Because I think if I'm not mistaken, that hook tag part that I play, it's 4 guitars, it's 4 tracks stacked together. So it's super layered. But that I remember was done like here at home, and then I sent it back to him. And then some of the stuff like Black and Blue, I think was also like a home recording vibe. And most of that stuff, like most of the solos on Rest and Bleach, they're all improvised. I don't write any of those. So like I just sit down, I play the track and then just play, and that's it. So like the 2 solos on Black and Blue were like that. I think, because there's the one at the end that's really like fuzzed out and has some more like chaotic energy to it. But I could be wrong. I might be misremembering, but I think both of the solos on Black and Blue were one take. I'm pretty sure I just sat down and did both of those and that was it. So
that's right. Yeah, they're only one take. I remember mixing both of those.
Dude, my mind is blown right now. One take and improvise. Usually, when it comes to guitar solos, musicians spend just countless hours trying to dial in the right tone. They want to get that perfect take and practice it as many times as possible. One take machine, damn, dude. I can't do that.
I mean, it's like that. I know just off the top of my head, like Black and Blue, those were one take. Icarus, the solo on Icarus was 100% one take. That I remember for sure. Um, which is so funny because that solo is the one, and I mean, I take it as a compliment, but it's like that's the one that I've had a couple people be like, "Man, that's such a well written solo," and I'm like, I didn't write it. I just played that. Like, that's just what came out when we hit record. Um, but I mean, when it comes to like the arranging side of things, like so much of it is just a lot of the times, like it's figuring out where to put yourself, like where to find your sonic space. Because like for a lot of Bleach, and Rest, I suppose, but like mostly I'm thinking of Bleach here, is like usually a lot of those songs, like Lucas has already come up with some form of like main guitar part. And so I just need to find where to sit. Because I feel like, a lot of people get hung up on like what's going to be the thing that'll make me sound cool as opposed to like what's going to make the song better. And so like that's where I live, is like what's going to make this song better, what's going to enhance it. That's why like Hit the Ground, for example, right? You don't really hear that rubber bridge part in the background, but it's one of those parts where it's like if you go back and listen to it, now that I've pointed it out, you'll hear it because that happens every time. But it's one of those things where like if we took it out, it wouldn't sound the same. There would be this like empty space that would feel a little off. And it's sort of that kind of thing. Like that's how it is on songs like Icarus too. Like Icarus has a couple guitar parts that you don't even necessarily hear them as much as you feel them with how they kind of fill up the space of the song and fill up the mix. So when I'm like writing parts, that's usually a lot of what I'm trying to figure out. But I mean, I also don't like sit down and I'm like, what's going to be the best thing here? A lot of that stuff is improvised too, like the hook line on Icarus or the hook stuff on Hit the Ground, songs like that, where it's just like, it's what I played in the moment. Like I was just like, all right, let's see what works. And then I played something that I was like, okay, I think that'll fill the space good, or that'll be a good little hook part. And it worked.
So for you, Jake, it's not about being flashy or being a show-off player at all. It's just about what the vibe is and what serves the song. Like that's basically like your mantra, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, like we were talking about the live shows. It's like the fun part about the live shows is like that's where you can go a little bit crazier with it. Like Black and Blue, like those solos are pretty reserved. And then live they get a little bit crazier. It's the same thing with like songs like Bleach too, where it's like Bleach on the record doesn't have really like a solo, but live it does. So, and it's also way gnarlier. Like that's the fun part too, is like, it gets way more like when we did this show on, at Goosetown this past weekend, it's like, there was a lot more like fuzz. There was a lot more gain and it was loud. At one point, like halfway through the set, we were having some like monitor troubles, some issues with the mix or whatever. And at one point I just turned like, I had my amp has a master volume and I had it on about 7. And then once that started happening, I was just like, it's on 10 now. This is just what we're doing. We're turning it up. Like, I don't care. Like, yeah, no, there's a great Noel Gallagher quote that I love. Am I allowed to swear?
You can go for it, man.
Okay. There's a great Noel Gallagher quote when he did an interview not that long ago where he was talking about playing really loud amps. And it's that kind of thing where you turn it on and you're just like, fuck off. I'm about to play E minor. Stand back. That's kind of how it felt when I was like, all right, there was like a guy standing right in front of me and I just was kind of like, all right, well, that's where you're at. If you have to move, like, I'm not going to blame you, but
you gotta love Noel Gallagher. That man, as brilliant as a musician he is, I think he could have done very well in stand-up comedy. Like, as you can see,
Oh, he's hilarious. I mean, the brothers, the
yeah.
Gallagher brothers, are both hilarious. That's like one of my favorite things about them. I used to not like them because I thought they were kind of pretentious, and then as I got older, I just kind of realized that it was not so much pretentious as it was they just don't care. They never cared. Like they weren't
Yes.
ones for the like. They never cared about the like interview questions and the fluff. Like they were so authentically British.
Dude,
You know?
yes, exactly. I used to be of the same mindset too when I was younger. I used to be turned off by how pretentious I thought they were, assholes. But as I got
Yeah.
older and developed, a broader sense of humor, I picked up on it and I thought, oh, they're just British Irish dudes being British Irish dudes. As you can see,
Right.
I'm a big Oasis fan. I got the poster there. But it's like when you get older and like you recognize that Squidward, when you're a kid
Right.
watching SpongeBob, you're like, oh my God, why is Squidward so mean? But then
You're like,
as you
man, this
get
guy's a
old-
dick.
I know. But then as you get older and you experience certain things, you're like, shit, I understand why Squidward is the way he is. I am so sorry, Squidward. I feel
Yeah.
you.
Exactly. No, 110%.
I just love how he went to a complete 180, talking about Bleach to Oasis being assholes to SpongeBob. Like,
I mean, hey, what are you gonna do?
That's about typical for us. Well, and funny
That's how it
fact
goes.
enough too, we actually covered an Oasis song at the show this weekend. So
oh, what song did you guys cover?
we covered "Don't Look Back in Anger."
Ah, don't tell me that.
Yep. I still have not received any video of it. Nobody has sent me any video of it still, so I have no idea if we even did a good job, if we did a bad job. I'm still waiting for it, but at least from what I could hear, it sounded all right. So
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and that song is fun because I'm very like as a guitar player, I'm usually very against like playing solos like the record. Like I don't do that with this band. I don't do it with any band I'm in really. I just I'm not real capable of that, especially my own solos. Like I would have to sit down and relearn some of these solos that are on these records. Like I would have to relearn Black and Blue or Icarus or whatever. But Don't Look Back in Anger, that's a solo that I think is perfect. And so I try to play it as close to the record as I can every time I play that song, just because I'm like, I can't, like, it feels wrong if I play anything else. It's just so well developed and it's just perfect. So I'm like, I need to actually sit down and learn this one note for note. It's one of those solos that's kind of like, Hotel California or Stairway to Heaven or Kid Charlemagne or something like that, where you're just like, I can't improve this, so I'm not even going to try.
Exactly. So we spoke about Bleach. As brilliant of an album it is, I got a bone to pick with the both of you. All right. Y'all had me in my feelings with 3 songs that were back to back, okay? Basement Tapes, Change, and Free. I call that entire run of songs the emotional trilogy because I kid you not, I'm going to do dramatization. All right, here we go. I'm vibing to the songs. I'm listening. All of a sudden, the end of Basement Tapes, like the last half of it, basically, I'm just like, oh, fuck, man. Damn it. I mean, I'll read the exact part that had me, a little emotional. Like, I kid you not, guys, sitting in this exact chair, just thinking, oh man, printed out just for the both of you. Here we go.
So prepared.
I try, man. It's the Joel Does Music show. Thank you, brother.
Come on.
I've learned to endure the pain that was put on me today. I'm the only one who has to fight it, and I've always learned it that way. Do you know how long I fought just to lose to my own head? That last line, brilliant, because it is putting such a big spotlight on mental health and how someone feels when they think that they finally, overcame their demons, but it's just another day where it's, damn, my demons got the best of me, my own thoughts got to me. Talk to me about coming up with Basement Tapes. And I love the video for it too, guys, because Lucas, especially, you wrote this before you turned 20, so it was pretty much a big life capsule of the first 19 years of your life. I think that's what really hit me. It's like, damn, I really feel like this is a capsule piece or like a time reflection piece. So definitely touch on that a bit if you can.
Yeah, so like you said, Basement Tapes was the last song that I wrote before I turned 20. And it was kind of that like the encapsulating moment of my whole life kind of leading up to that second decade that I started approaching. Um, it's really funny. So that time was I was going through a whole bunch of stuff. I was going through a breakup and everything, and I was writing the song. And I went over to Jake's just to try and clear my head. But I was like, hey, I kind of wrote the song out. Do what you want to do best, And we sat in his basement and he just recorded it. I wasn't able to hear anything because he was in his headphones. And he finishes it, says, here, put these on. And it was perfect. It was exactly how I wanted it to sound, and everything like that. But the lyrics, definitely, I love being able to encapsulate like the mental health side of things, and rather than just saying, oh, this is how it is, I want it to feel this is how it is. I want somebody to be able to hear it and say, oh wow, I feel this too. Like this is something that I've personally experienced. That's kind of the whole idea of Lost in the Forest in the first place. Is it's supposed to be a place for people to relate and know that they're not the only ones that have gone through that. The whole shtick is, you're not alone. And I think that was a big part of that song, especially, and placing it right there. I knew it needed to be right in that middle segment of the album. And if you actually listen to Bleach chronologically, as you should, you can feel it kind of start to slow down as it gets to that point. And actually, Basement Tapes was initially going to come after Change and Free, but Jake made a great point to me when I had like the track list written out on my whiteboard. He came over one day. He was like, "Oh, so that's the track list?" And I was like, "Yep." And he was like, "Well, you should put Basement Tapes before Change and Free, because if you're thinking of it on a vinyl, Basement Tapes would hypothetically be the last track on that side. So that way, when they flip it over, because Change and Free actually fade into each other, they actually blend together, and you don't want to have to flip the record over in the middle of that blend." So when he told me to do that, I listened to it in that order, and I realized, oh yeah, no, this is actually the better order to have it anyways.
Yeah, I just have a very distinct memory of coming over and he's got the whiteboard up and he's showing me the set list, and I'm looking at it and I'm just like, okay. And he's like, what? And I'm like, well, I mean, like what if we don't, like, what if you do this instead? I'm just like, I'm just like looking at it and I'm like, there's just stuff like that where you look at something and you're just like, nah, it's not right. It's just, there's something about it that's not right and I don't know what it is, but then you kind of work through it and it's just like, because I think we had a moment where he was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't know, but something. And yeah, that was kind of, I realized like that was my rationale, was like, well, and also just like from the perspective of not only like the vinyl to be able to like flip it over that way and then the songs are together, but my thought was also a little bit more of like, because I know Lucas is very much into like the storytelling side of the album, like to be able to have a song like Basement Tapes close out the first side where you're like, oh, this chapter of my life is done or whatever, and then flip it over and the first thing is change. Like, that was I was like, I think that'll work a little bit better should this album ever be pressed to vinyl.
And it did. That was the perfect story layout for it.
Now, as we start to wrap up on this interview, I love this yap session, but all good things have to come to an end. I want to grill you guys. What were some of your favorite albums of 2025?
Bleach by Lost in the Forest. That was the number one, obviously. No, Dick, I'll let you go ahead first.
Go ahead.
Is this
Jake.
like albums that came out in 2025 or just our top like albums that we listened to in 2025?
This year, like your favorite albums of the year, like pretty much album of the year contenders.
Okay.
Like that came out this year, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I know it's been controversial like people have been really torn on whether or not this band is actually good, but I have been really loving the new Geese album. I think Getting Killed is a great record. I've been ironically, like, obviously there's the TikTok song, the Opa de Cocaine or whatever, the Sailor in a Big Green Coat, whatever. That song's great, don't get me wrong. But the one that I've been bumping a lot recently, and it freaks out everyone around me, is Trinidad, the first song on that record, because it's just Cameron Winter screaming about how there's a bomb in his car. JPEG Mafia is also screaming on that song. So it kind of just throws everything off. I don't know. But in a more like normal vein, I guess, because Geese is not everybody's cup of tea, and I understand that. I think it technically came out at like the very tail end of 2024, but Older and Wiser by Lizzie McAlpine, I mean, that's just like a perfect, like I thought Older was a perfect record, and then she put out Older and Wiser with some of the bonus tracks and stuff, and it's just like, I mean, listen, I know people are going to watch this and be like, shut up, white guy, but like Pushing It Down and Praying, it like, that was like I think that was my 5th most listened to song of the year. So like 2025 was a little rough, but you know what? Like that song is great. That album is fantastic. That's probably up there. I mean, there's just so much that comes out. I mean, hey man, listen, Life of a Showgirl. I mean, like, how are you gonna argue with that? I'll argue with that.
Listen, that's another thought for another episode, man.
We could spend an whole interview talking about that, I'm sure.
That is a discussion for another time. Lucas, your turn, man. I already know what you're going to say. I know you already.
No, I'm gonna throw a curveball on this one. One of my favorite ones this year was actually Big Lucky by Peter McPoland. He is one of my favorite artists. He's actually a lot of influence on this album this year with Bleach. But what he did with that album, he learned how to do reel to reel and entirely recorded it in his house that he moved to earlier this year in LA. And it's just such a cool idea of a record. Like, it's so you just pull everything back. You pull all the stops. Yes, Jake.
So, sorry, me in the back here. Here. Is the curveball in the room with us? Is the curveball in the room with us?
No, yes, it's in the room because Joel thought I was going to say Breach by 21 Pilots,
yes,
which is a dead giveaway. That's a dead given, of course. See? We all know how I feel about that one. But but Big
threw
Lucky,
a curveball and hit a foul with it.
Okay.
I feel like I'm in the middle of a band argument. Oh God.
No, it's okay. But those two albums specifically have been big impacts on a lot of what I've been writing recently. But then another one that did come out this year too is Portal by Balu Brigada. That one is it's fun. It's really just pumpy, and it's very much the kind of idea that I want to kind of delve into a little bit more too eventually.
All right, cool. Good choices, guys. Seriously, Jake, Lucas, thank you so much for doing this with me. I had a good old fashioned, great time during this yap session with you two.
We're having a gay old time.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I'm very happy to hear it.
Guys, thank you so much. As always, I've been your man Joel from Joel Does Music. Go check out Bleach, one of my favorite albums of the year from Lost in the Forest. Big thank you to you two. As always, much love and good vibes. Peace out.